How to effectively move workshops from meeting rooms to virtual space? The initial idea that people usually have is to replicate what we do face-to-face in an online meeting. They do these video calls that have many hours with virtual post-its and all the other fancy stuff. But that's not the right way how to utilize the benefit of the technology. It's maybe the first step towards an actual new way of working. We people do always the same when new technology comes. We try to replicate the old way of doing things with the new technology. Let me give you an example. When computers with word processors came in, people started formatting the document and tables with moving the cursor by pressing the spacebar many times, just like they did on typewriters. Or another example, when email came into companies, people would print and archive all the messages, like they did with physical mail. When digital cameras came in, we continued developing the photos, tens of the small pictures that we would put in the photo albums. Later on, we found out that the pictures look much better on the large screen or maybe in a photo book. When the first tablet computers came in, they ran Microsoft Windows for desktop and they were not practical at all. When smartphones came in, the first web pages we served looked exactly the same like the ones on desktop computers. So we are in the stage when we are using the technology the same way like we did before. We run the same amount of meetings, run them the same way, we just replicate our office life virtually. This is step one of innovation. Step two is actually leveraging the technology right way. This is where the productivity boost happens. There are companies that are already at the second step. Most famous example is an American company called Automatic. They are the team behind publishing software called WordPress. You may not be familiar with WordPress or with Automatic, but you use the product every day. Because WordPress currently runs 33.6% of all the websites on the global internet. So Automatic, they have more than 1,200 employees, but they do not have any single physical office. Their employees are working from different places all around the world. Matt Mullenweg, the founder, says that they do not consider them as remote workers, because a remote worker is somebody that works somewhere remote from the center. But there is no center. They are not remote. They call themselves a distributed company. Matt Mullenweg often talks about the experience of working as virtual teams and what they have learned and how they do things differently. One of the most important things he mentions is that they switched from synchronous work into asynchronous work. Asynchronous is when people work on something together in the same time, like meetings, workshops, phone calls, you name it. Asynchronous work is when people work individually at their own time, when they have a time where they can focus. A typical asynchronous work is email, where if you just exchange email with somebody, you are working asynchronously. But Automatic, they went far beyond that. One thing that I like the most is they have a tool, or they have a rule or process which they call written proposals before a meeting. When a team needs to discuss a new proposal, new idea, they need to come to a decision about a product or maybe strategical decision. They have a completely different way how it is done. In a typical company, a meeting is held, somebody presents the proposal, and immediately after that, seconds after that, people just shout their opinions. I like it, I don't like it, this is stupid, this is great, without even have a time to think it through, look into the detail. So what I do in Automatic is, when they need to come to a decision, build something, let's say talk about something important, one person makes a puts the idea into writing, maybe 2 to 6 pages. And then the written document about the topic is shared with the team or with the people that are involved. They have several days to read it carefully and think it through and give written comments. After that process, they sometimes have a meeting maybe to agree on the details or finalize it, but most of the work is done asynchronously. They say the decision process, it does take longer than maybe in traditional companies, but it gives much better decision. And in effect, people actually are more efficient because asynchronous work is generally way more efficient if done correctly. So the next time you plan to run a workshop to work on an idea or to come up to a decision, let somebody write the proposal down and give it to the people to study, to understand it before you meet and discuss. Another distributed company is called Basecamp. They develop a software for collaboration of virtual team and they themselves work virtually. Their CEO, Jason Fried, claims that they have virtually no meetings in the company. They literally replace all of them with asynchronous work. For example, they do not have any weekly or daily project status meetings or team meetings. Instead of, they have a tool called check-ins. This is a software tool that prompts each team member every day, at the end of the day or every week, about what they have done on the project, what they will be doing the next period, or maybe if there are some things that they are struggling with, if there are some issues. Then the system compiles all the responses from all the team members and puts it into a nice email for everybody. If some issues arise or there's something that needs to be discussed offline, people do get in touch in video calls, but there are usually short calls of maybe 2 or 3 people that go deep dive into a particular issue.